Hi, everyone. I'm Cullen Haynes, and this is Lawyer Lending Live. Have a very special treat with you today on today's broadcast on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We're bringing one of our own on the team from Legal Home Loans. We've got a team of 17, and we're bringing on Josh, who's one of our leading four brokers, has helped hundreds of lawyers self-actualize in their finances, and is here today to talk about what he's seen in the market. From first home owners to managing partners, this man has helped. So very pleased to welcome Josh Jaramillo from Team Legal Home Loans. How are you today, Josh?
I'm doing fantastic, Cullen. You've always been a master of introduction, and thank you so much for having me on this.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure. And I know we had to schedule it at 1:30 because you and the team were very busy helping legal professionals in their finance. And obviously, this is a great time to talk 30 minutes about what you're seeing. So I guess, what are we seeing in the market in our conversations with our legal clients there, Josh?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're helping our clients self-actualize every day. It's what we do best, as you're aware, Cullen. And we've had such an interesting year with all these RBA and interest rate changes over the past 12 months. I guess the last 3 to 4 months, with all these increases, we've seen a lot of refinances come through the door. And that's been a massive focus with all the uncertainty, whether to lock in a rate, whether to do variable or do both. So they've probably taken up a lot of our time, and they're the most common conversations right now. It's the magic question on everybody's mind. How far are these rate increases going to go? Now, I'm not so much a conspiracy theorist as you are, Cullen, but what's your prediction? Where do you think the RBA is going to take this?
Oh, great question. And the Illuminati are the cause of it. I'll tell you, I'm just joking. But, Governor Philip Lowe, God bless him, has said that there will need to be some further increases to curb inflation and whatnot. And I've got some leading partners who have their own theories on whether the RBA interest rate has any bearing on inflation and the wider global factors. But we have seen the interest rate and the cash rate go to 1.85, which is where it is at now. Two of the major big four banks have predicted that that's going to end up at 2.5. So maybe another one or two increases. And then another two of the leading big four banks have thought that it's going to be 3.5, Josh. So, depending on where we like, could be in the middle. But I guess the message here is more rate rises to come. And more importantly, from the lending side of things, which I don't think a lot of people get, and certainly our legal clients ask this, Josh, which you can attest to, people are waiting for that crystal ball moment of the market absolutely dropping. But what they don't realize is with these rate increases is that it significantly impacts your lending and the stretch rate that the banks are using. Love to throw to that and talk about this magical stretch rate that the banks use. What are they using right now, and what will happen when the RBA does take that cash rate potentially to 2.5 or 3.5?
Yeah, great question and segue, Cullen. With the rising interest rates, yes, we are seeing a drop of house prices. And even though everyone waits for the bottom, they don't actually know it's the bottom until it goes up. But that in turn does impact your borrowing capacity. So not only are they assessing it based on the increased interest rates, but there's also an assessment or buffer rate on top of that. And it's usually around the 2.5, 3% mark, just to factor in any future rate increases. So we're having a lot of applicants come back who approved last year for $700,000, no changes to their financial position, and all of a sudden now they can only borrow 600 or 650, and they don't understand that it is because of these rate increases. So we recommend people get their applications, their approvals in, get that piece of paper from the bank that they're going to lend you this money, so you can take advantage of the new market prices right now.
No, cogent insights there as always there, Josh. And I would encourage, this is a LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Facebook Live, to put your questions in the comments and we'll do our best to say hello, answer them, or very at least table it until next time. Anna Ban has said, have a great day, y'all, and clap hand emoji. Thank you so much, Anna Ban.
Thank you, Dan.
I wanted to talk about lender's mortgage insurance, Josh. Obviously, it is a hidden cost that not many borrowers know that they are or may not be paying. What's lender's mortgage insurance, and why should legal professionals care?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, even though the word insurance is in there, it's not insuring you for anything. It's there to protect the bank and the bank itself. It's a cost we don't believe any client should be paying. Now, the general population will have to pay lender's mortgage insurance if they don't have enough funds to cover a 20% deposit plus stamp duty, cost, fees, etc. Now, our elite legal clientele with an Australian practicing certificate only require 10% deposit. So it definitely allows them to get into the market a lot quicker, which is really, really beneficial for them. So apologies to the rest of the population, but lawyers, if you are listening,
Us civilians.
please take advantage of this waiver, because there are 4 major banks offering it. And we've seen a lot of success with our clients over the years and saved them thousands and thousands of dollars in LMI. That, funnily enough, the banks don't even offer them or know about too much when they go direct. So get in contact and we'll waive those fees for you.
Yeah, it is the bane of our existence. Hearing the stories, we get it every single day. Someone's calling up and saying, I'm about to sign my contract. My broker, my bank, it's saying I'm going to pay $20,000 on $1 million property. And we just say, hold your horses, run for the hills. We don't need to be signing that, because lender's mortgage insurance isn't something that protects you, as you said. We once had a client, and you'll remember this, Josh. We talked about lender's mortgage insurance and they said, oh, I've got it. I go, what do you mean? I go, oh, my broker got me life insurance on my last loan, and they thought it was life insurance. It's an honest mistake, but it is something you do not want to pay, and you do not get it back. But to that point, we do find that those needing the waiver of the 10%, 90% loan are first home buyers, and God bless them, they've had it tough with all the rates going down because it's driven the market up. And many first home buyers or those looking to upgrade have been priced out of the market. Why is now starting to look like the clouds are clearing for those looking to upgrade and first home buyers?
Yeah, great point, Colin. Spring buying season, we're getting a lot busier now, a lot more pre-approvals coming in train. People are starting to realize that the property prices are coming down, and especially first home buyers, they've had it tough for the past 2 to 3 years now, being bought out of every single place, every auction. And finally, with a lot more stock on the market, and they're staying on a lot longer than usual. There's a lot more pass-in rates over the weekends. First home buyers have the best opportunity that they've had in years. So we've seen a resurgence in first home buyers, and I hope they continue to come and take advantage, especially here based in Sydney. I know we cater nationally, Colin, but in Sydney, they've definitely had it tough. But yeah, seeing them coming out of the woodwork is fantastic, and getting them into their first home and property.
No, it is a fantastic feeling. I always say, and we use it all the time here at Team LHL, people don't want a loan. They want a
home. They want a home.
They want a home. And finance in and of itself, hopefully I can use this word on LinkedIn. It's not sexy. Finance is not sexy. It's nothing shiny about finance. But what it does allow you to do is get into your home. Finance that next dream in your driveway, a car. Start your practice. Get into chambers. And, that's a nice little segue. Chambers. Chamber of Secrets. Talking about barristers. We deal with them all the time. They're another level to lawyers. For those who are tuning in, not in the legal profession, a barrister is basically, I guess, that next tier of law that represents solicitors in the courts, and their client are basically solicitors, and they're sole practitioners or sole traders. Banks really don't understand what a barrister is. We had one last week that walked into a bank, and the banker asked them how do they make so much coffee to get that money. They didn't realize that they're not baristas. It's a barrister. Let's talk about barristers, mon ami. What are you finding in the market for barristers?
Yeah, look, very respected in their profession. When it comes to banks just do not understand barrister finances or their needs or chambers. It's definitely that when we say chambers, they definitely think of Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets, and it feels like that like that sometimes because they just don't get it. Now, chambers is essentially their office space, a room in the courts where they can work and mitigate all their cases. And typically, the costs can range between $200,000 to $600,000, and it is a commercial facility. Now, with relationships that I guess we've developed over the past years, we've had tailored policies now for these barristers and legal professionals seeking to borrow the funds to secure chambers. And we've had a lot of success over the years in doing this. So we are seeing a lot of barristers start approaching us and asking, because they are so time poor, how to get finance and how to do it in a timely manner. We had a nice coffee yesterday, Colin, with the clerk
Yes, we did, Josh.
A barrister took 3 months for finance approval and to secure a room.
Billable hours there, my gosh.
Yeah, and we did it in a week and a half with one of her barristers, and she didn't believe us when we sent the approval through. She
unprecedented. Unprecedented. Yeah, and in point of fact, the bank that you secured that with, for any, we do get a lot of banks watching this and seeing our posts. That particular bank has had to hire, hand on heart, more staff to cope with the volumes of legal professionals we're sending them in the commercial banking sector for barristers.
Definitely. And it's a relationship piece as well. A lot of these older barristers used to have a private banker, used to have a contact they could reach out to at any time. Times have changed. It's all gone digital now, Colin, as you're aware. And those private bankers and relationships that they had for so many years has now disappeared. And as you're aware, banks are very transactional. And that's why we want to come into the piece and act as their conduit to their bank and develop that relationship, so they are taken care of because they are an elite profession, an elite clientele.
Yeah, and to your point, and I think it's a good one, banking has moved from a relationship model to a transactional model where people feel like more like a number. It's when people come to us and say they don't know who their banker is because they left. Usually the good ones move. No one's contacted me. Ironically, people are only being contacted when they are threatening to leave. It's called the retention team. It'd be interesting to see what happens now that we're moving into a more of a buyer's out market than a refinance market. But what I would say to people that are watching is you haven't had someone reach out to you from the bank. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll tell you what the leading rates are. You send that to your bank. Rest assured, they probably won't come back with anything. We're more than happy to help you. A tactic that a lot of our wily legal clients use, and I highly recommend others to do the same. But switching gears a moment. So we got the barristers in the chambers, and they've got their own, I guess, set of governing practices and lending principles for them. But if we go to the other side, in the actual firms themselves, there's those individuals who have been in law 15, 20 years, been promoted to what's called a partner in law, salaried or equity. What is the pain point for partners? And congratulations, those newly minted partners out there recently have been promoted. But what's the pain point now that they are made partners and they want to go for their home loan to get their dream home, Josh?
Definitely. Well, banks treat partners as self-employed, believe it or not. Now, for those of you aware, partners are actually very similar to normal salaried employees. The only difference is that they don't receive any pay slips. They come in the form of distributions. The pain point that we have when we send a partner to a bank is that they ask for company financials and tax returns, and to ask a firm with 200 partners or one of the largest firms in the country for their company financials and documents. I definitely don't want to be the one asking that question, that's for sure.
No, and it is something we see quite often, but it isn't often when people get made partners, like, so your partner, now what? Obviously everyone, it's called income creep. That your income goes up, obviously your price of living goes up. So people obviously naturally want to do that. It's one of the human needs of life. You talked about it, self-actualization. It is disappointing though, when they go to their friend and go, where did you go? I went to X bank. And that bank will say, we need 2 years financials. And it's just not true. Like to your point, there are banks that will consider lending to new partners on one pace. How does that work? I'd love to talk into that.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been able to get and secure lending for newly appointed partners or with a CFO letter or managing partner letter evidencing their remuneration for the year or expected forecasting for the years. And we accompany that with 3 to 6 months banking statements just showing those distributions and that they are in line with the letter. So it's a very simple verification process. Only certain lenders have that niche policy and allow it. But we've had a lot of success in the past with it.
Very, very good. We've got one of our own team members from LHL. He's got a turtle emoji, which stands for slow and steady wins the race. We've got a term that we talk about in lending here. You got to go slow to go fast. And I think that's a great point that Mitch makes, putting that in there, that turtle emoji, is that many brokers and banks lead on rate. And it's all about, how quickly can we get this done? They get the rate, they send it up, but they're not looking at the credit policy. And most often there's problems, it gets declined or what have you. When people often ask you and me, Josh, how are we different? We just say, we respect your time. We lead on credit policy. And that's probably the lens that we look at based on your situation, which bank is going to make this as streamlined and efficient for you. So you are not wasting your billable hours. Because let's talk about how long does the average application take, Josh? Bank application.
If you're doing it by yourself, direct with bank, it could take weeks, months even, if it's not being done correctly. And on that point, the billable hours are so important to our legal clientele.
Yes.
I can't tell you enough how many times a client will want to lead on the rate, and then all of a sudden, what should have been a 2 to 3 week process turns into a 3 to 4 month process, and you're left scratching your heads. But if you went slow to go fast at the beginning, it was definitely avoidable if you know which banks have those efficient processes in place and internal structures to accommodate for this niche type of clients.
Correct. And I know many of our brokers in our office and yourself use this as well. When someone says, I want to go with X online neobank because their rate is this, we often say, hey, that's great. And that bank has their place, but you're a premium client and time is valuable. We see ourselves in the business of time. And the average application, you said weeks, it takes about 31 hours for an application to be processed, start to finish and get done. If you're a partner or special counsel and your billable hour is $1,000 an hour, that's $31,000 worth of your time that you're investing. That's usually the deal breaker for most when I say, are you willing to spend $31,000 of your billable hours on this?
Yeah, great point.
The smart lawyers say, no, I'm not. And another one that gets people is when I say, we really cater for busy professionals. It seems that you've got time to do this. Are you that not busy? And they're like, no, I'm very busy. I'm very busy. So that's always a very good point as well. Let's talk about the loyalty tax.
Yeah.
What is the loyalty tax? I'm seeing it in the media, Josh. I'm seeing it in the AFR. If I don't follow finance, what is the loyalty tax and how are people being affected by it?
It's really applicable to refinance applications. And I think a lot of consumers right now in the market are starting to understand the loyalty tax where they go to their bank. They could have banked with them for 30 plus years, been a loyal customer for so long, and they ask to reduce their variable rate, a higher discount. It's not too much of an ask for a billion-dollar company or bank. But all of a sudden, their interest rates are nowhere near as sharp as new clients and new to bank clientele. So they're being taxed for being with the bank for a longer time. Now, God forbid, a lot of lenders, or some lenders, I should say, will give them new to bank rates, but they're few and far between. You really need to identify who are going to treat you and have that customer service reputation, and openly provide a higher discount, which is what you're entitled to, wouldn't you say, with all these rising interest rates, Colin?
I would say my old mentor and friend at Macquarie, Adam Harley, would say this: Cullen, the squeaky wheel gets the most oil and most attention. And unfortunately, I used to be in hotels myself back in the day. It's usually the disgruntled clients or guests that get the most attention. Same with your bank. They'll only do something for you when you either constantly harangue them and ring up, threaten to leave, or put in a complaint. Unfortunately, if you're a great client that doesn't say boo you will probably find your rate going up and they're not going to do anything about it. But obviously, that's why we exist. That's why brokers write the 17,000 brokers out there, write 70% of the business to the banks. And that's why. The misconception, Josh, that brokers, as in mortgage brokers like us, cost more. There's hidden fees in the actual rate or charges. What would you say to that when that comes out?
There's zero fees from us. We don't charge our clientele any fees or charges whatsoever. We get remunerated by the banks upon settlement. So essentially, our fees are complimentary, and those lucky enough to be members of the law societies that we're partnered with across the country, we actually rebate them up to $500 to $1,000 in some instances. So in terms of hidden fees and charges, your banker will disclose all of them to you. I can only speak to us, Cullen, that we have zero joining fees or services fees, and we're the account managers for the life of the loan. So typically 30 years. We also review the facility every 6 to 12 months. There's no fees whatsoever involved with that process. It's purely a relationship piece for us.
Yeah, it's a good point. And most of our team are very young, like your good self, Josh. So we definitely want to be around for the next 30 to 60 years. So we'll be reviewing your loan every 6 to 12 months. And that's not something the banks usually do. Another question we do get asked is, because people see it on our social media and whatnot, platinum certified. I've got a valued client from Melbourne that laughs about our platinum certification and says, that sounds a bit odd. What does platinum mean? I'd love to actually elevate that and say, what is platinum and what does it mean in the market?
Of course. So when it comes to broker accreditations, it is a tiered system with certain banks. It's typically about 3 different tiers that you receive. And luckily enough, and thank you to all of our lending partners out there listening as well, where are platinum brokers with all of the banks that offer this service. So you have preferential turnaround times. Instead of waiting up to 3 weeks for your application to be picked up and looked at, we're getting it done within 1 to 2 business days. Same as preferential rates, preferential policies, access to credit policies and credit discussions prior to any applications being submitted. Imagine that, Colin. We can package together a deal anonymously, send it to the credit team, have a manager look at it and say, yes, this will be approved before we even click a button. And that's how we managed to save so much time for our clientele over the years, because we have access to those facilities, and not to toot our own horn, but it is well deserved, Colin, because we have worked hard to build these relationships with these banks and obtain great outcomes for our clients too.
No, absolutely. Toot away there, Josh, because there are 17,000 brokers out there. I believe we may have won an award recently. Is that right?
Yeah, we won Office of the Year, non-franchise. That was a big celebration for us, and I'm sure we'll be going out and celebrating even harder this week.
Absolutely, at the Australian Broken Award. Shout out to Momentum Media and Will McGee and the team there who do a great job. Pre-approvals. Does it cost anything for a pre-approval? How long does it last? And what are the smart lawyers and clients with pre-approvals doing with that?
Yeah, no costs involved at all, and we can't recommend it enough. It's the first point of a conversation. If you are thinking about buying a property, you're looking at the market, you're curious, you don't know if something's going to pop up, the first action you should be taking is speaking to your broker, talking about the finance and securing your lending. Colin, we had a recent experience about 3 weeks and we had a bit of a giggle about this where a client called us and said, Josh, I've done something silly. And I'm like, you bought a property and you've got no finance. And they said yes. And it becomes a very stressful time for all. Luckily enough, we're able to secure lending at a very quick rate, a quick turnaround, and they were able to move into the property. But the first question any agent is going to ask you is, do you have your finance sorted? Do you have a pre-approval in place?
Yes.
Is the bank going to give you that money? And that's exactly where we come into the fold and organize that pre-approval and get all your ducks in a row so you can make an offer on the property and have that peace of mind, which is the most important thing.
Correct. And lawyers of all people love having the edge. That's what they do. They look at the ways that they can have the edge. If you look at people's outcomes, let's talk about it from a negotiation standpoint. We're going to be having Nicole Davidson talk about this later today. But when you're looking at people's outcomes, someone's selling their home. They're wanting the best price they can, and they know the market is going down. Why on earth would they waste their time with someone who doesn't even have finance? So let me tell you this. In no uncertain terms, people buying homes, have your pre-approval. It is a bargaining chip because you will be elevated to other people who say, oh, no, I'm about to chat to my broker or my bank. I promise you, you'll be discounted and you'll be put to the bottom of the list because let's face it, you are not ready. And if their banks are taking 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to get your application done, one in the hand is worth two in the bush. That agent is going to say, this person has got their pre-approval ready. By God, you should go with them or at least consider their offer. And yeah, talk.
And although very unusual, one of our colleagues, Luke Mansell, shout out to Luke Mansell.
Shout out to Luke.
Had a client who went to auction or was talking to the vendor's agent, and they were asking about how many conditions are on your approval.
Yes.
I believe they might have missed out because there was too many conditions. Even though they approved, there was too many conditions on the approval and the vendor didn't have enough comfort. So that was a very interesting scenario. I haven't seen that happen too many times, but it's a great example of getting that finance secured because it can be a bargaining chip and can make or break you buying your first home.
Definitely. And harkening back to the platinum brokers, as George Orwell once said, and I'm sure he meant to say this, all brokers are equal, but some brokers are even more equal. So make sure you ask your broker, are you platinum certified? If not, we're always waiting for you and we're looking forward to it. Parting wisdom, Josh, what's the number one piece of advice, not financial advice, but something, a closing thought you'd like to leave with everyone who's tuning in?
Yeah, put me on the spot here, Cullen. Look, the pre-approval's the key thing. The spring buying season, more properties are coming on the market than ever. Speak to your broker. Please make sure that you are getting good terms on your mortgage, getting a good rate and getting a good service proposition because it's fantastic securing a loan, securing a home, but you definitely want to have an ongoing relationship and not just letting these mortgages sit and wait and accrue interest and accrue your payments over the next coming years. You definitely want to talk to an expert who's going to make sure you're saving thousands of dollars year on year.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you so much for joining, Josh. You're an asset to the team along with all of the team at Legal Home Loans and appreciate you sharing your insights with everyone today.
No, thank you so much for having me, Colin. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, my friend. We come out every Wednesday on Wednesdays with Lawyer Lending Live. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be uploading this as bonus content wherever you get your podcast. Take care, everyone.